Hey everybody, what is going on? We are back. My name is Brian, and today we're going to have another quick review video. It's a product I've actually seen a lot of people on YouTube already take a look at. So there's not really a need for me to have a video out about this, but I've been meaning to get it out, and I've been super busy, whether it's family stuff that I've been dealing with, whether it's moving into our vacation time that we just got back from, or whatever it might be. As you can tell, my voice is a little froggy today, so kind of been dealing with that a little bit too, but we are taking a look at the Jack Daniel's Bonded. This product, along with the triple mash one that they have, are two products that I actually tried a little bit ago, maybe a little more than a month ago. One of my friends at the bar, Merle's Whiskey Kitchen, allowed me to try these samples that he got about these products that were going to be coming out into the market. And when I had first tried them, I remember enjoying both of them. But when I tried the Bonded, I remember thinking, man, at this $30 price point that it's going to be coming out at, $30-ish, this is a product I feel like I'm going to really enjoy having. It had this really good sweetness, it had this really good oakiness, it's really good like kind of wood note, the kind of stuff that I like to look for. And so I've been waiting for it, and I've been excited about it hitting the market. And it finally, a couple weeks ago, came to Kentucky, or at least came to Louisville. It was a little odd to see that it was in the 700 ml. I thought that it was going to be liter bottles, but the one that I got was a 700 ml. And what I want to do in this particular video, I want to talk about my experience with the bottle and then kind of compare it to a couple of things, not other things I'm going to pour today and talk about, but kind of some other comparisons in the price point. So let's go ahead and just dive right on in to the tasting of this bottle, and then we'll get to kind of talking about that. Now, I will say, immediately when I bought this, I went ahead and popped it and poured it out for the folks at the store that I was at, so they had a chance to try it too. And I will admit, compared to what I first thought that I experienced with it, it was hot when I first opened it. And you can tell I've done some work on this. I've made some really nice old fashions with it. But it wasn't until it got about here on the bottle that I really started to kind of open up a little bit, shake off some of that heat that it brought. Now, it does have spice in this glass for sure, but it did take until I got down a little bit in that bottle for some of that heat to dissipate. But on the nose, you notice a lot of fruity notes. You notice this kind of vanilla wafer-like sweetness to it. It's a little bit bready, but it has a big burst of fruit, and then like freshly baked rolls or freshly baked bread. It kind of has a little bit of this sweet nuttiness, kind of like you would get in Jack, kind of like you would get in Heaven Hill. Those kind of sweet but welcoming nutty notes, definitely there too. I wouldn't quite call it earthy, but it does kind of have those smooth, soft, sweet, nutty notes to it. Let's go ahead and dive into the palate. Now, this is another one that I would say takes a couple of sips to really acclimate your palate. It does come off a lot spicier and still a bit heated right away. But I don't say that meaning when you get through a couple of sips, the spice will go away. It won't. It still has a lot of spice to it. I feel like what is the lingering flavor, we'll talk about that first, is this kind of creamy peanut note mixed with these kind of pleasing spice attributes. Not quite licorice, although it does hit like licorice right away. It does leave with this tingly, creamy nuttiness. And with that tingly nuttiness, you do get kind of this kind of citrusy note as well. Let's take a gander at the front of the sips. The front of the sips are rich. It's caramely. It has these kind of fruit notes to it, maybe a little bit like pomegranate, kind of then gets in again into this vanilla wafer-like note, this kind of sweet bread, vanilla sweet notes, a little bit custardy. It does have some of this banana note. It's not overly banana-y like, let's say, the maybe the Early Times or the Old Forester signature, but it does kind of have some banana pudding notes to it. Not quite the banana Laffy Taffy notes. It's not like super candied banana, but there is a soft, creamy touch of banana yeasty note to it. It does really just carry these kind of wood influenced, these oak influenced notes. And so for that, I'm going to pause with the tasting notes because I've mentioned it's fruity, and I've kind of mentioned it's oaky, and I've mentioned it's a little nutty, a little spiced. I will say it's not quite as banana, like I mentioned, as maybe Jack Daniel's single barrels could be, the Old Forester single barrels can be, early times, Old Forester signature. It's not as much banana as that. But I also say it's fruity. However, if you would go to a Buffalo Trace, which is again in that same kind of price point, it is not as fruity as Buffalo Trace. A little bit richer for sure, but not quite to the same level of fruitiness that you get there. It does have the char, the oak kind of flavor that I get from like Old Forester and Jack Daniel products, that kind of note that I get younger whiskeys that have that tell. But I would say that it's not as heavily toasted as you notice Old Forester to be. So if you find Old Forester products a little bit heavier toasted, then you might feel at home with this Jack Daniel's Bonded. That said, again, when it comes to the oak notes, I had a pour of this and I went to Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Batch 4. Now, that is a pretty big pour, very complex, has older whiskeys, but it does remind you why this is a $30 whiskey. It tastes like a $30 whiskey compared to Discovery 4 that has more elegance, more nuance, more refined oak, more actual flavors to it. Kind of puts this back into perspective a little bit. But going back and summing it up, I would say, yeah, I'm glad that I picked this up. I would say that it's a rich, as it says in the bottle. Caramel, maybe not so much. It does have a little bit of caramel sweetness to it, but it's more of a slightly fruited, vanilla, sweetened, rich, oaky, spicy pour. That's what I would say for this bottle. I don't think it's as sweet as I hoped that it would be, but if you like balance, if you want a little bit more spice, you don't want it to be overly sweet, you'll probably really enjoy this product. I feel like because of the oak influence and the kind of heaviness, there are reasons why I would lean to this towards maybe some more of the banana forward. Again, Old Forester signature or the early times. But there's also reasons why I would reach for those too. Other than that, some other bottles, again, aside from maybe the Buffalo Trace, like I mentioned, that are kind of in that similar price point, there's definitely bottles that I lean to that are cheaper than this for sure. Maybe the JTS Brown or the Old Bardstown, but they do have different flavor profiles. Either they're earthier, maybe they're way too citrusy. They all kind of have their own unique profile. For the price it is, I'm not mad about this. But similar price point, if you put that up against Henry McKenna, Henry McKenna is going to have more complexity. It's got more age, it's going to have more depth, it's going to have more stuff to it. So I think there are some bottles you could compare it to and it's going to fall a little flat. Some bottles you compare it to and it's going to hit up a little bit. I think it's really whether or not you want to pick this up. Now, that said, again, this is a 700 ml. So this puts it price maybe closer to $40 for like a $750 evaluation on that. Then it's kind of hard to say. I think it's still a really good value with a lot of other products coming out, age stated, in this $60, $70, $80 price point. I think it's welcome to see a product like this, 100 proof, bonded, Jack, coming out in that price range compared to other things on the market. But is it going to knock your socks off? No, I don't think so. Will it end up in my best affordable whiskey list at the end of the year? I kind of wish it was a little sweeter, even this far into the bottle. But like I said, it makes really good old fashions. You might want something that's even cheaper than your old fashions. But I'm not mad that I picked it up. Still want to spend some more time with it and really see. Might give that triple mash another go. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you found this video helpful, jump down below, leave me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to know that I'm continuing to bring content that you want to hear me talk about. Thanks for dealing with the froggy voice. Hopefully next time we're back better than ever as we talk about more Four Roses products. Over on our Patreon, I'm going to have a poll going up to vote on what the next bottle is that I'm going to pop for you guys, and I'll put that here on the channel. If there's other things you want to hear me talk about, leave me some message down below. I'd love to hear what other things you all want to hear me talk about on future episodes here on the channel. Join into the Entry Proof Live. That's a live that I do with Drew P. Whiskey on Thursday nights. He's also here on YouTube. We're on his channel talking about all sorts of things. If you haven't tuned in, be sure to do that next time that we're on. You want to support the show, get access to barrel picks, behind the scenes information, voting on the Four Roses barrels, maybe getting a sample. Join us on Patreon, patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you all later.